Welcome back, everyone, to the Cancel for Maintenance podcast. If this is your first time joining us, we are a podcast that takes a behind-the-scenes look into the gritty, non-glamorous life of aircraft maintenance. We share some laughs, impart some wisdom, all in hopes of giving you that split seconds relief in your day that can hopefully prevent a mishap. I am your co-host, Sixth.
I'm MVP.
And our third host, Shoreline, is here again in the back, silently monitoring our audio, making sure that our faces stay fit for radio. Before we kick off this episode, I'd just like to say thank you once again to everybody who voted for us / nominated us for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. For those of you who don't know, we are finalists in one of the two categories that we were listed under. We will find out the results on September 30th. That's about the same day that runs in line with International Podcast Day. So that will be fun to hear. We are the only aviation podcast. To be more precisely, we are the only aviation maintenance podcast listed anywhere on the finalist slates. So regardless of the results, it's an honor to be a part of it, and more so to be finalists. And hopefully we win our category.
It means a lot that you all took the time, out of your schedules to go and vote. For us, we wouldn't even been able to make it to the finalist slate without all of you doing what you did in voting for us. So much appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. Wouldn't be here without you guys.
Very much so. And we see this as a win, not just for us as individuals, or an individual podcast. This is like a huge win for the maintenance community, period. Once again, thank you all so much for that support. All right, now on to other things. So earlier this month, an Instagram reel about an airline captain airing out his frustrations to the passengers during his pre-flight safety brief went viral and circulated throughout the interwebs. Anyone who's ever worked in a service industry can relate really well to this captain's frustrations. There's always this wave of customers who just feel they are entitled to your servitude, and they give you like less than subhuman treatment in some cases. My hats off definitely goes to all the flight attendants out there who day in, day out have to deal with these kind of passengers or customers. And contrary to most people's beliefs, your service and comfort is not the top priority of a flight attendant. Safety is their number one concern. And all the other stuff like comfort, service, the peanuts, the drinks, and taking your trash, that's all like just complimentary shit. It's like, we need to give these people something to do on the flight. That's really it. Okay.
It's funny you mentioned it. So I don't know, this isn't funny, but funny that you mentioned it. So I was on a flight to the East Coast back in the beginning of the year. And on the aircraft we were on, I don't remember what model it was, make and model, but it had a, lavatories in the front, one in the middle, and then two in the back. So I was closer to the one in the middle. So I got up and made my way towards the middle, and I'm standing there. There's a kid inside the restroom already. And this lady comes walking back, and she's like, hands on top of each of the headrests of the aisles, making her way back. And she's standing there, and she kind of looks up at me, and then she like hits the door, and I said, hey, there's a kid in there, and then she was like, she didn't say anything. She kind of looked at me, and then her eyes rolled in the back of her head, and then she just collapsed. And I caught her on the way down, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Fortunately, she didn't hit her head on anything else, but I'm telling you, even a smaller person, when they go dead weight is tough to carry.
Yes, very much so.
So about the only thing I was able to do is prevent the head from hitting anything that would cause serious injury, but collapsed regardless. And the flight attendants come running up there to help out. And fortunately, about 2 rows back, there was a RN, a guy there who was an RN. So he got up out of his seat, came forward and helped out. But, all in all, I couldn't get back to my seat. So I had to stand just kind of out of the way wherever I could. And as I'm standing there, another flight attendant comes past me, and there's somebody in the aisle said, "Are you guys going to give us our drinks or what's going on?" And that flight attendant looked at me and looked at that person with like, if they could, looks could kill, And it was just one of those like, You just saw what happened, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that, but it seems like they're being taken care of now. And I'm like, well, they're still laying on the floor. So until we get them back to their seat, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like Six said, hat goes off to everybody in the service industry, flight attendants, pilots, people who work in food service. Holy cow! I got to tell you, I was my Kool-Aid manages a restaurant, and I was in there one day, helping out, doing some things or whatever, and just the way the general populace comes in, and everybody, hi, good morning, how are you? How can I help you? And just the real snide attitudes, not even a hello back or anything. Just give me this, and make it, and hurry up with it.
Yeah,
and part of me wants to go. And they keep a professional face and courtesy all the time, because I get it. That's your customer base and whatever else. But it took everything I had not to just grab handfuls of stuff it in the container, and hand them the bowl. Get the hell out,
Yeah.
Hurry up and pay. Where's your card?
Yeah, waiting on you.
What are you doing? Insufficient funds. Get the fuck out of here, broke ass.
Well, thanks for the exercise, I guess, right?
Yeah, so it's I'm glad there are people who can do that, because I don't think I am one of them.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them that can do it for a very long time.
Exactly. Yeah. Same here. I'm guilty of it too. And so, like, what's some of the stuff that pilot say during his brief? And granted, I can probably tell, like, it's been happening so often, and I can kind of contribute this to all the start back or the restarts from COVID and all that. So a lot of people are like, just like, want to get out, want to go travel, want to just do things because they were quarantined for however many months, years, and so forth. But here's some of the stuff like the pilot said. He goes, remember, the flight attendants are here for your safety. After that, they're here to make your flights more enjoyable. They're going to take care of you, but you will listen to them. And they have to say, or they have to say, because they represent my will in the cabin, and my will is what matters. That is very true, right? And
yeah, I mean, a captain of an aircraft is captain of the ship.
Yeah,
it's their word is law at altitude.
Yes,
once those doors close, that's their jurisdiction.
Yes, I mean, as contrary as that may sound to a lot of people, or they just feel like where they're just a bus driver or something like that, 100% false. Like that captain's will, as offending as that is 100% true. And he also goes on to say, like, you people should treat the way you want to be treated, but I have to say it every single flight because people don't. They're selfish and rude, and we won't have it. Also true. He goes on to say about people using or listening to their phone on speaker mode, or having phone conversations on speaker mode. I don't know how many people still do this, but I can't do it. Like I hate airing out my business to other people to hear. And I think that's maybe because of just some of the sensitivity areas that I've been in throughout my lifetime, that I just can't fathom myself doing that. And
I'm still impressed that people do. I mean, I see it like walking on the streets or in the stores or whatever. People do that, but I didn't know it was still happening on the actual aircraft.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, again, like, I have no idea, like, how is this still a thing or why people still do it. But I mean, keep your conversations to yourself, or keep your business to yourself. And he's actually saying stuff like that. Or now you mentioned being in the middle aisle, or in the middle part of the aircraft. And the pilot in command actually said something about that. He says, middle seaters, I know it stinks being in the middle. Raise your hands. It's like, you own both armrests. That's my gift to you. Welcome aboard to the flight.
I mean, that's kind of how it is, though, right? The window gets to lean on the wall, and aisle, you get to lean sort of out into the aisle, and you get a little bit more leg room. But yeah, middle gets the armrest.
Yep. There was also something he says about, like, Don't put your junk where it belongs. Everyone paid for a space. Don't lean on people. Don't fall asleep. Don't drool on people unless you've talked about it and they have weather resistant jackets. uh, so this kind of he's kind of hinting at. I mean, I'm assuming. Okay, I'm assuming at this point he's talking about like not harassing other people. Right. There's been a huge string of some passengers just being flat out ungovernable or unruly on a flight. And a lot of times it involves the flight attendants again, where they're harassing them, whether it be mentally, emotionally, sometimes physically. And I think there's some instances where they'd have to land the plane so that the air marshals can handle that passenger. And it sounds like you're doing the right thing when you're doing that to a passenger or another flight attendant. But imagine say MVP and I were on a flight. We've paid however many hundreds of dollars to go on this flight. And then we have to delay or cancel it because some passenger just felt the need to do what he or she wanted. And then we have to ground the plane and wait for local authorities or law enforcement to remove this person. And then hopefully there's enough juice left in the plane to get this thing off again and land somewhere in time for your next flight. That right there, man.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah, I mean, imagine your flight was already delayed for weather or whatever. You finally get in the air. Somebody decides to be a jerk. You end up landing in a city that was not your final destination, and now you're stuck there for hours on end, missing connections, missing whatever. Just because somebody thinks that they're above the law. And really, at the end of the day, I think that's kind of what it is. I think some people just think they're exempt. Yes. I paid for this plane ticket, and I can do whatever I want. No, but what I can do is let you off at any point during this flight. Let me just crack this door open and feel free to exit. Right. Mind the gap and beware of that first step. It's a doozy.
Right. Aim for the foliage, trees are your friend.
Yeah. What was that from the other guys? It was The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. He was like, aim for the bushes.
Yeah.
No bushes.
Foliage is your friend. So we as mechanics, technicians, we operate almost exclusively on hate and caffeine. So there's many opinions that we have about things. And in some cases, we're more than happy to let you have it. But we bite our lips on a lot because those outbursts of anger can lead to some consequences, which we may not be aware of or not be prepared for. You can ask almost any mechanic. If you want the absolute truth, just go down to the maintenance shop and then just kind of ask a question. And you'll get so much feedback and some ways you don't want to hear.
And it could be a question just like, Are you guys working on that G5 as they're working on the G5? You just wait for that response.
Yep. The sarcasm is freaking hilarious. I love it. Oh, no, we're not working on it. We're just looking at it, because sometimes what you can do is just look at it. But the outburst that pilot had, I can 100% relate to because, if you, just like as MVP mentioned with those service peoples, or people who work in the service industry, you get berated and beat up or have to do the same thing over and over and over and having to deal with the same outbursts and retaliation over and over. It gets it wears you down really fast. And at some point, just all right, something's got to give and it ain't going to be me. And that leads to stuff like that pilot doing the outburst. And normally, whenever something like anger comes out, it's never really the baseline emotion. It's usually because of something else. Your anger is in a way your internal justice system, right? Like something unfair has happened to you, some type of anxiety or stress or whatever, and that's kind of like your anger saying this is unfair, this is not right. And rightfully so, when the emotion is aimed in the right direction, it actually helps. But if you're just bursting it out and you have uncontrolled, like a runaway fire hose, then it just doesn't do anything, right? It's almost never the baseline emotions, unlike a certain individual in a certain universe where anger is the only emotion that they feel because anything else just causes extreme pain.
Yeah. Angron is angry perpetually.
Yep. It's like, Angron, the Primarch of the 12th Legion of the Astartes, or Adeptus
the
Astartes.
World Eaters.
Where having literally any other emotion besides anger will just like cause extreme
Yeah. Although to be fair, I mean, he did have against his will, surgical implantations called butcher's nails.
Yeah.
Embedded to enhance the state of anger and to subdue any other types of feelings.
Right. So unless that's you, where you have like surgical nails embedded in your brain that makes you feel nothing but anger.
I mean, some days, let's be honest, some days I think we feel that way, right?
Yes.
At least I do. Some days where I'm like, there's no reason. There has to be some reason why I am as angry as I am right now.
Yes. I feel the exact same way. Example of this and why it's bad to display anger is MVP and I were in this one company, this one organization where we were managers of maintenance and operations, but we were treated like we're just the flight attendant, if we're going to relate this to something.
And that's not to downplay the role of a flight attendant by all means.
Right. So
not a shot at anybody in that regards.
Right. And it's more or less saying like I'm trying to make this as relatable as possible. Like you as a flight attendant, you have a very strong priority, but people treat you less than human sometimes. So that's kind of how it was treated with myself and MVP. Like we were directing maintenance and operations, but everyone around us like treated us like we're just the bellhop. Like we're just there to exist. And so we had this one conversation with another manager from another department, and we can tell this person was getting very testy with how they were answering questions. Like their anger has peaked and they stopped listening to logic. And in response, myself, I lost my cool and I responded with my anger because like, why is this being such a problem? Why are you fighting us? Why are you like just being...
We're literally trying to help you.
Yeah, like help me help you. Your unresponsiveness or your sarcasm is not helping, and I admit I lost my freaking cool that day. It's probably one of the few times I've ever lost my cool in the workspace. So much so I've pretty much like physically threatened him. And
I'll never forget that.
Right, and I didn't actually put my hands on him because I'm gonna be honest. Like it
was just a verbal warning.
Yeah, but the stuff I said like really shut the room up, and I think it's because they didn't expect that to come out of my mouth. And in hindsight,
I wasn't expecting it. I can tell you that.
in hindsight, and I think that's the reason why that having such outbursts of anger is actually bad for you in the workplace, because whatever relationships or whatever bridges or whatever the line of efficiency you've made, when that outburst comes, it kind of weakens that a little bit. And if you're doing it so much, at some point people just like cut ties altogether and say, okay, I'm not working with this person ever again because he or she is a hothead. He or she is always like just raging for whatever reason. Or this person is just in someone else's terms, leading with emotions, air quotes. And it may not sound that bad for a lot of people, but imagine like you had a boss and the second you walk into work, the first thing they do is kick open the door and just start blaming, like shout match blaming you for stuff. At some point, right? Like you revert back to your kid years where you just turn off when your parents yell at you. And that's more or less like how that effectiveness is. When your manager just comes in screaming for whatever reason, they're always mad, always blaming you, always finding something that you fell short on. You just tune them out. Like, whatever, man. Like the second their voice level like raises a certain level, or the moment their lips start flapping, just like brains off on a mental vacation. I'm checked out until you leave the room.
Automatically tuned out, because it's always going to be some bullshit. You're always going to be angry regardless of whatever the situation is. You're unwilling to hear what caused the situation, both good or bad. So it turns into that why try.
Yeah. And we've actually had some managers who doubled as instructors who would just fly off the hinge when there's nothing in the room that's like making you mad, or like the students or whoever is listening to the lecture just sitting there, not a word out of their mouths. And then here's this person just like recollects all the anger he's ever felt in his life or his or her life, and then just starts blowing up for no reason. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, everything you said in the lecture or the training up until that point is all dumped. Because the only thing I'm going to remember is the fact that you threw your hands up in the air for something. and then that's another reason why, like, having those kind of loss of control is what we call it, is ineffective in the workplace. I'm probably triggering every single mechanic ever in the world right now, because like that's literally what keeps us awake is the anger. Besides the caffeine. But again, like just like little bursts because of injustice, like some kind of unfairness. It's understandable. We get it. Like, why do we have to come in on a Saturday? Why didn't we just do this like 2 days ago when we had all the time in the world to do it? You know, that's warranted. That's perfect. But if it's for every single fucking thing, it gets real annoying and it gets real old very fast. And at that point, it's like, whatever. Like, here's your Saturday, Sunday work. Bitch about it if you want. You're still coming in. You know what I mean? Like, especially from a manager standpoint, if the first emotion that's received whenever you say anything is anger, like, you tune it out. That you start becoming that one manager who just doesn't care about your feelings. I think we talked about this in a previous episode too. Like, you're just tired of trying to be like the boss of justice. That you just like, you know, I'm just gonna be your manager, period. Because whatever I do, it's either never enough, or your first reaction is some form of anger and kickback. Like, whatever's, man. Like, here it is, deal with it. You know?
Yeah, I think it removes the human factor out of the equation. If you're saying you're being the manager and you're trying to give direction and it's being received with anger by your people, is that what you're leaning in with here?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So at some point though, right? So as a man, you know, I know, speaking for myself, I feel like I'm more in tune with my team than I would say a lot of other managers are, or that I've experienced. But at some point, though, it does get to when everything, hey, you might look at this and everything's bullshit and everything sucks, or just blatant ignoring it. It's like, okay, well, next time they come, hey, I have an issue with this. Sounds like that's your problem. I don't know what to tell you. Right? It takes that human interaction out of the equation. We all become robots at that point. You lose empathy, right? And so I just went through some effective communication training the other day as part of some remedial stuff on how to be a more effective communicator. And one of the key principles to effective communication is empathy. Mm-hmm. Understanding where the other person's coming from, right? So in communication's a two-way street. So if I'm the manager and I'm going, hey, Six, we need to look into this. We need to create a metric for that. Can you mind jumping on this grenade over here and fixing that? I know it wasn't scheduled, but here we are. And then, you know, you can, and Six is just pissed off about it and hooting and hollering and whatever else. It's, you know, like, okay, why is he upset about it? You know, trying to figure that out. But by the same token, if Six is never going, hey, MVP's asking this, he's not really demanding. He's coming to me. He's saying, hey, I know. He's recognizing that the current situation is we're swamped, but I don't care. It's all about me. Well, eventually MVP is going to go, okay, well, it's all going to be you. Then I'm going to react with me. And let's play rock, paper rank and see who wins.
Yes.
You know? And that's what it comes down to, right? Eventually it comes down to, okay, well, I'm your boss, so, well, that's a bullshit answer, and that's what it is, though, you know? Mm-hmm. I tried to reason with you.
Yep. And then that's how it all perpetuates. The cycle continues once again, right? So, again, it all boils down to empathy and understanding that anger is not always the baseline emotion, right? There's always like a layer behind it. Like what's really coming off here? It's rare if ever anger is the core response. Unless someone is just perpetually angry for literally anything. Freaking breathing makes you angry. Being existing in this plane of existence makes you angry. I'm sorry to say, like, I can't help you there. But normally when anger is the response, there's some other stuff driving it, like some stresses in or outside of work, some kind of fear, some kind of anxiety, some kind of hardship, or undue injustice is occurring and you just may not realize it. And that goes into what MVP was saying about that empathy, like understanding what that means. It's that emotional intelligence, that ability to interpret and understand and control emotions that makes or break a team, especially if you're the manager. Because as we've talked about earlier, if you're the manager where your first response is to fly off the hinge, no one's going to want to work with you, period. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter how much you pay somebody. If your initial response is beration and some kind of verbal or physical harassment by some kind of anger outburst, you're going to lose people quick. So one of the ways to help mitigate or manage this is, for one, is to own your own anger, right? Realize that you are mad, for one, because I've done it before myself where, like, I don't realize I'm being mad. I just see that as like I'm just getting my point across. And sometimes I don't even realize that I'm coming off as very strong. And by strong, I mean like I'm using a certain volume level to get into your skull. And
yeah, well, it's one of those like I need you to make sure you hear where I'm coming from, and I get that, because I've ran in a situation like, hey man, we can have a conversation, just tone it down, or it might even be like, man, why are you yelling? Oh, I didn't realize I was yelling.
Yeah.
No, you were. Okay. And that usually, even that's enough to like diffuse the anger a little bit, to start leading in with the empathy side of things, and then understanding what's causing the thorn in the side.
Yes. Especially that, like, understand or figure out why you are angry, or find out why that person's angry. And almost all the time, if you just take the time to figure it out, it unravels almost as fast as it came. As if anyone's ever experienced something like that, like they come off strong and hard, but and it'll stay that way unless you let off the gas a little bit, and then it just kind of fizzles out on its own. So like, hey, why are you having problems? Oh, well, it's this, and this. Oh, I get it, 100% get it, and then we can evaluate and move on from there. Sometimes, you just like, when the anger is just escalating, that's when you need to pump the brakes and like, you know what, let's just take 5. I think we're having a huge misunderstanding. Let's just take 5, go grab some water or take a shit for like 10 minutes, and then we'll reassess. I've seen many conversations go far south, and it was because of one small misunderstanding, but it trickled into something huge, to the point where no one even remembers why they were pissed. They just knew once they get their emotions going, they rarely find the means to stop. And
or yeah, they just don't know when to stop. But again, right, that's a two-sided sword, double-edged sword. Jeez, I can't, lost for words today, people. It's a double-edged sword. You're getting you're making sure your point is heard, but if you don't know when to end that conversation, or at least the shouting portion of it, anger is met with anger, right? You fight fire with fire.
Yes.
And then it's at the end of the day, you're probably going to lose, because no matter who it is, there's always somebody higher than you. And I've even been in situations, and I believe 6 too, where our anger was warranted and right, but because it was taken out and somebody upper in the chain than us, regardless of how correct we were in our statements, I was still wrong and punished for it.
Yep.
And even the people who punished me said, yeah, you were absolutely right and valid. Everything you said was correct, and they failed to do this, and the other, but you can't talk to people that way.
Yep.
And you're like, but they weren't listening. I tried doing I tried explaining whatever, and they wouldn't listen. Doesn't matter. So if they're driving the train, driving the car off the cliff, I'm just supposed to sit in the back seat with a smile? No, that's when you have to elevate and you should come talk to us directly. So that's jumping in the chain of command. So, okay, I do that. And then you're going to get upset for one, because I've experienced this too. So you hear me, but then you're upset that I skipped my own chain of command, even though the next person in the chain of command wasn't listening. You've admitted that what I brought to your attention was right, but because I didn't follow the chain of command, I said, well, I tried to follow the chain of command, and that person, the conversation died with them. Well, then you should let us know that we need to reach out to the individual. I did. And I'm being punished for it. Yes, well, we've talked to that individual, but you shouldn't get out of the chain of command. And now that the next person in line in the chain of command that you superseded, now they're upset because they got jumped. So now you got two people. It's a real delicate balance, people, and one that I have not figured out yet. But I'm trying. I'll let you know when I do.
I feel so seen right now, man. Like you just summarized my entire life for the past 20 years. Like, oh my God, he sees me. But it's 100% true. Like there's some individuals that just absolutely feel that they have to be the one to push the button or send the message up line. Whatever, man. Like if that's your biz, if that's your feel good, cool. But just know where if the message is so critical, so important, it's not going to stop with you, right? Like you can't be the senior person with a secret. It has to keep going. You know what I mean? Like that's how things go wrong. That's how the blame game starts. That's how all kinds of crazy shit falls. And right. That's another thing with the anger piece is like avoiding assumptions, because we're guilty of this too. Me especially. Like if I know a person is going to be abrasive or just be that stone wall or choke point for that matter, I already know, like, I'm just going to tell you enough to make you understand. And then I move on to whoever else who's actually willing to invest time and energy into whatever it is we have to say. And we've all experienced it before, right? Like say like you have a supervisor or a line chief or whatnot. That person is just like a fucking wall. Just, it's easier to tell a door that it's a wall than to talk to this person. Like you would rather pierce your tongue with a hole punch than talk to this person. But sometimes maybe he's just off, or maybe that person is just having a bad time. I don't know. But the one thing you should do is avoid assumptions. I'm learning this myself. So it's not like something I have mastered, or me and myself and MVP have mastered. We're still trying to figure it out. But
so I'll impart a little wisdom of what I've learned in my career so far in this type of situation, right? As to managing anger or the emotion of anger within the workplace. By all means, have that in-person conversation with your superior. But if they're not being responsive, my suggestion would be to write an email. So you'll find in many of these situations when anger is involved, people want to have just a in-person conversation. That way, nothing can be tied back to them. It becomes a he said, she said at that point. And again, rock, paper, rank, you lose. So I would suggest an email. And so as part of that effective communication training that I went through, one of the things I learned is, I do very well in writing emails because I have time to think, review, adjust, fix, whatever, what I'm typing out. In the conversation, as you guys have heard me on here, when I get racing brain syndrome and my mind starts working faster than my mouth can get the words out. So I stutter step a lot. And that's been used against me as well for not being great at explaining myself. So taking the email side or the written letter side or whatever you want and transcribing that into an actual conversation is very difficult to do. It takes a lot of time and practice. I'm still learning how to do it clearly. But my suggestion to you is write that email. Sit down and type out your emotions. And I would say in that email to whoever your superior, you're writing it to your direct superior, hey, following up with our conversation, I just wanted to recap some of the things we had talked about, blah, 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 blah. Put that in an email. You'll probably not get a response. you'll probably not get a response from that individual because, again, they don't want anything tied to them in an email that they can be held accountable for. But what you did is now have a time, date, and stamp proof that you did bring something to light. Hey,
Absolutely.
following up with our conversation we had at this date and time, wanted to bullet point a couple of things here, some action items out of that conversation. So I know I had brought this to your attention, and your direction was to this, and that. So we've completed steps one through three of a total 10-step process that you outlined to fix the issue or whatever else, And that shows that you're not being insubordinate. You're following up. You're doing what you were asked to do. You've not neglected any of that direction at all. But when it blows up, as you know it will, and they come back and say, nobody said anything, you've got that email that says, right here, I showed you where we were at. And right here, I showed you where the concerns were. Initial concerns we brought up, the initial risk, right? We're talking about risk management. I brought up the initial risks and concerns. And then how we worked through a couple of those, but then some new ones that were brought up. And that's about the only thing you can do in that situation. But to tie that in with the anger management part, sitting down and typing it out really gives you time to reflect on what you're saying, right? So you choose your words more carefully. Yeah, you're direct, but you're not being obscene, in your words that you're trying to say. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion. Type it out. Don't send it right away. Maybe type it out, leave it in draft form, come back in an hour or two, reread it, and make some adjustments if necessary, and then fire it off. And that way, because if you type exactly how you would talk, that email is going to be received very negatively, and then that's used against you in HR, right? So you've just condemned yourself in a way by using slanderous words and other such detrimental verbiage.
Yes.
In your so again, it comes back to the nobody hears what you're saying. Excuse me. Nobody hears the content of what you're saying. They just see what you said.
Yep.
At face value, but not the underlying issues that you were trying to bring to light.
Absolutely. Yes. And I love the fact that you said that, because there are times too, like, as you're typing it out, your anger kind of fizzes out to a point, depending on how severe the issue was. Like, you motherfucker, you start like punching keys, like you're writing on this like 1920s typewriter, like bap, 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 just punching away. And then as you're going through, like, well, what the fuck, like why was I so pissed off, And sometimes it may start off as you're typing as you talk, and then as you read through, like, wow, I sound really stupid right now. I should probably fix this a little bit. Or spell check tells you to fix things, and it's kind of like this little pump the brakes moment for you, like,
yeah, it's not all one run-on sentence anymore with a bunch of grammatical catastrophes.
Yes,
thrown about within that run-on sentence.
Yep, that's
a coherent thought out there.
Right. That's me to a T right there. What that could also mean too is if situations like this are escalating, that could be a sign of like burnout too, right? And that's where like we talked about this earlier, where sometimes you just need to go out there and touch grass or go get some sun, because maybe that's what's going on. Like you're moving so fast, or you're moving so persistently that you really haven't had a chance to take a break for yourself. So you take a moment, like that 1 hour that MVP was talking about, the email. You go out there, you touch grass, you get some sun, you get that little bit of a break, and everything kind of slowly come back together, and you're like, okay, maybe I need like a break, not just here. Maybe it's the work environment, maybe it's the stress of the work demand, or whatever the case may be, or maybe it's something else that's kind of trickling its way into work. And, you need that little bit of separation to kind of smooth things out. Because maybe the problem isn't the person. Maybe it's just all the stuff trying to fit into this one tiny hole that is your attention span, and it's just manifesting itself as anger. And that kind of...
Well, and you're exactly right. But the anger manifests from trying to juggle 12 chainsaws, 16 machetes, 3 hand grenades with the pins pulled, and making sure that none of it hits the ground. And eventually that, like you said, that burnout, that overwhelming feeling manifests into anger because you're trying your best to take on all the tasks you've been assigned, but the tasks keep coming, right? As we've talked about before, and most of you have experienced, when you do your job really well, you get to do others' jobs too.
Yes.
And I think of that small video clip from the show The Office, the American version, and it was Michael Scott, which is he goes, I'll snap one day, right? I'm gonna snap one day, right? Like that just cracks me up. But I feel that when it's a tough thing to do, but you have to be able to manage that anger as a leader, a manager, and as the employee, because it typically isn't going to work out for anybody after that. Now, again, rock, paper, rank. If you don't have the rank, you're probably going to lose, but you might be subject to remedial training, several days without pay until they figure out what they're going to do with you, those kind of things. So it's not like haha, I won. It's like no, you won by them allowing you to keep your job for a little while longer.
Right. And that's one of the key consequences that sometimes we're not aware of. Like if you keep on going with these volatile outbursts, like eventually this guy, you know what? You're a detriment to us. You're a detriment to the overall goal that we're trying to achieve here. So the best thing for all of us to do and for everyone else's safety really is to just get rid of you. And we've seen that happen many a times where some individuals, they just can't control themselves, or they have that one outburst that just like disrupts a lot of stuff. And the safest way to mitigate that problem is just to get rid of the source, right? And vice versa to this, like say if the work environment is the one that's being the problem, that might be a sign for you. Is like, you know what? This place is too much. I know I'm not like this, but somehow being here makes me like this. So that might be a sign for you to maybe you need to seek other ventures elsewhere, right? Because some places, no matter how much you try to go with the flow or how much you try to influence some type of change, it's not going to happen in the time frame that you need it to. So we've done it ourselves where like, this is not working out. We need to move on. And that might be a hard pill to swallow sometimes, especially out of the security piece of it all. But if you're going to, if you're going to walk into a place and your first emotion, your first reaction is either burnout or anger, that might be a sign. So, yeah. And
there's ways you can try to help that without just walking out the door, right? You can, hey, you mind if I, if there's a certain part of the aspect of the job you enjoy more than the others, bring that up to your boss, even though they might be the ones who are currently upsetting you. Say, hey, I really enjoyed, getting involved with that APU change. That was kind of interesting. I enjoyed doing that on that, or I really like troubleshooting this one avionics problem. Would you mind, next few AVI jobs that require troubleshooting come in, pairing me up with one of the more experienced troubleshooting techs, and at least it's still showing your boss that, hey, you're volunteering for stuff and to learn new things, but it also playing that subhuman Yahtzee game, you're kind of getting what you want out of it too. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, just a thought for all of you out there. And mind you, as I'm telling you a bunch of these things, I'm sitting here actively reflecting on personal experiences. And, I still undergo certain rage-inducing moments within my career that I have to work to understand, to get through, to know why I'm doing that. So, it's kind of a do as I say, not as I do thing in some instances.
I mean, I'm the exact same way. And sometimes, you need some of those to kind of hit you in the face. So you're like, was it really the situation or was it just me? Right. And in some of my cases, probably like a good 40% of it was my fault. So I know that.
No, that's exactly right. That's where there's coming back to typing in those emails. You'll learn, and especially when you seek mentorship or guidance from a senior individual, somebody who's made it pretty high into our career and our industry, right? And they didn't get there by these ones that you're going to seek guidance from. They didn't get there by just kissing ass the whole way. It was trials and errors, a lot of regrouping, re-strategizing, and moving forward. And as you talk with them, it's really interesting how they'll ask questions and relay their own personal experiences to make you realize that you're not 100% guilt-free or fault-free in that situation either. It's weird how they say, well, what was your response? Well, I said this. And if you were told that, how would you? Well, I guess that'd probably piss me off, but I said it because they said this. Well, I know you're trying to fight fire with fire, but sometimes you got to know when to let the fire just burn itself out. Mm-hmm. And all you can do is keep your area from catching setting fire so you can survive.
Yes.
Interesting. That's a conversation I had very, very recently. And that same analogy was used to me. Well, sometimes it's gotta burn itself out. You can't, as a individual, fight an 80,000 acre forest fire. Sometimes all you can do is keep your immediate area safe so you make it through.
Yes. Very yes, man. Like, granted, we're still learning this for ourselves. Like, and the situation's always changed. So it's not like it's a one size fits all solution. But once you kind of understand what's going on, it's a lot of things piss you off less, if that makes any sort of sense. Like, or it takes more for it to get to you, right? So it's like, okay, I understand. Yes, this and that. I'm still mad. I'm just not going to give you my reaction. And I feel like that's probably like one of the ones that just really just egg on people is when they use their anger to solicit a response, and you just don't react to them in the same fashion that they are giving you. Oh, it drives them nuts, right? But
it kill it with kindness.
Yeah, and I think that's how a lot of service industry people really win. It's like, well, I'm going home. I'm happy. So you can be as mad as you want, but at the end of the day, I walk away. I'm happy. I got paid, and my livelihood is not affected by your outbursts. So in the end, that person like really wins the case, even though you've won the shouting match. Like, whatever, man. Like, you're the one who's losing energy out of this.
Yeah. I'm still going to go home in 6 hours, and you're still going to be angry. So.
I'm living rent free in your head. Congratulations.
Well, that's a good one, Six. Don't let people live rent free in your head. Yep. And like I said, Six knows this probably better than anybody around, except for maybe Kool-Aid. But in the last few months for me have been every day that the demon that consumed Angron was consuming me, and it was affecting everything that I did. I mean, every conversation I had, it consumed the topic of discussion, my thoughts and my personal time, into kids' activities, you name it. And it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I really don't dwell on it anymore. And I've had to take steps to make essentially my current situation work for me. It wasn't going to improve because somebody else was trying to make it improve for me. I had to make it work for me to survive in my current area until that next step in the career comes, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I want to impart on you guys is make it work for you, because nobody else. My mother has told me this my whole life. Nobody's going to make you happy except for you. So, and it's kind of almost bleak in a way, but everything's going to suck. So just make it suck less for yourself.
Yes. Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I love that. Any other final words of endearment or sage advice you want to give?
Yeah. Don't let the butcher's nails embed themselves too deep in your mind.
Ooh, I like that. I like that one a lot. That's kind of like that whole rent-free thing in your head. Like, don't let it be that one, man. Like, they can live rent-free in someone else's. Don't let it be yours. And again, like, you're in control of your own emotions, right? Well, there was a saying, I can't remember 100% how it went. It's like, what you can't control, let it be. And the stuff that you can't control, own it. Something like that. But what we're trying to get at is exactly what MVP said. Like, don't let the butcher's nail dig deep. Don't let them live rent-free. If you can afford to, like, avoid the triggers if possible, understand why it's happening, and if it's becoming too much for you, seek some kind of help, whatever that help is, right? As long as it's positive, it's healthy, hopefully with some kind of professional guidance, use that. There's so many resources out there. There's so many people that you can tap onto that can help guide you through it. Hey, you can reach out to us. I mean, we're learning it ourselves, but we'll get there with it with you.
Yeah, but I'll impart whatever, you know. I think I've mentioned before, I have a couple of mentors, one in the industry I work, but a different department, and one not in the industry at all. But both are very storied career professionals, and they have quite a bit of sage advice that they've given me and tactics to use to better myself. And essentially it all ties back into the making your current situation work for you until the next opportunity presents itself.
Very, very true. So true. I'm actually going to write that down my damn self. But hey, let us know what you guys think, right? Like, what are some tips that you do to help manage your anger? What are some things that you know that you've seen that would spark an anger? Or what's some things that you thought was one thing, but then as you dwelled on it, it became something else, or you realized it was something else? Hey, let us know in the comments, our social medias, our emails, our website. The absolute best way to get in touch with us, get some feedback, and touch base with us is through our Discord channel via our Patreon. We have all sorts of conversations just like this amongst each other. We learn some things. We pass on some things, all of which is to make things suck less, as MVP has said. Like, everything's going to suck, but try to make it suck as little as possible for yourself. And sometimes that takes a little bit of self-awareness and self-realization. So, hey, reach out to us. Let us know. And on that note, everyone, thanks again for listening. And we'll see you all again on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
We would like to take this time to thank our patrons for supporting our show and allowing us to make episodes, maintain our gear, and create merch for all of our listeners. With special thanks to Erica Lamont, Chris Hawkins, Eric Shaw, Dan Schubert, Ryan Frushauer, Kyle Keir, Mike Sherwood, Caleb Stockhill, and Jennifer Brofer. Thank you all so much for your support and patronage. If you like our show, please support us on Patreon. You'll receive awesome perks like access to our private Discord, discounts and early access to our merch, first glimpse of our comics and other projects, and so much more. You can further support us and show off your prowess as an aircraft specialist by visiting our shop at cancelformaintenance.com. If you like classy or rugged watches, visit our affiliate Rockwell Time at rockwelltime.com. Use the code CX, the number 4MX to save 10% off your total order. If you have suggestions for the show or you'd like to be a guest on the show, send us a line on our contact us section at cancelformaintenance.com, and we'll do what we can to get both your ideas and yourself on the show. Please support us on social media like Facebook at Cancel for Maintenance, Instagram at CANX for Maintenance Podcast, or Twitter at CXMX Podcast. Please check out our new comic series on the Tapas app. Like, share, subscribe, and comment on our comics. Let us know what you think. Thank you all so much for your support and listenership, and we will catch you all next time.